Welcome to another edition of Believe in Saints. As usual, he's Terrance Copper and I am David Grubb, and we welcome you. But it's another frustrating weekend with the New Orleans Saints. They fall to 3-7 after losing to the Pittsburgh Steelers on the road, 20-10. And TC, at halftime, this was a 10-10 ball game. Saints looked like they had some fight, but again, double-digit penalties, turnovers, inability to convert on third down, predictability, lack of explosion, and giving up explosive plays. Everything that we've seen this season in losses, it was all there on display again Sunday afternoon.
It was all the exact same things, like you just said, are culprits to us losing. You think about it. We ran last week. We was talking about us running. We ran 49 plays last week. It was like, man, that's not a lot of plays. We ran 45 plays this week. 3 for 11 or 3 for 12 on third downs. We got 10 first downs total. We had 10 penalties total. There's no way you're going to win any ball games playing like that, and also going on the road up to Pittsburgh, regardless of what Pittsburgh record is. You can't go on the road and have those type games. And I'm still looking for my guy, number 7. I'm still looking for him.
Six. What did he get? 6? I don't even think he got 6 total touches because he had 1 pass attempt.
Mm-hmm.
And what? I think he had 3 carries. No targets in the passing game. So again, another day of underutilized Taysom Hill. 4th down situation. Just in that. In the second half, 4th quarter, you're trying to extend drives. And on 4th and 1, there's no Taysom Hill. We don't see Taysom Hill on 4th and 1.
You run a quarterback sneak with Dalton.
Okay. These are choices.
These are choices.
People are allowed to make choices, and they get paid more money than you or I to make those choices. But I just don't, again, when you are a team that is not making plays, that is not generating anything offensively, and they did not the entire second half, and for a very small sliver of the first half, that's the only time they were able to do it in that last stretch of the second quarter and get those 10 points to tie it up. You don't use players who can create something out of nothing every now and then. I just don't understand it.
Yeah, I think I got to take my hat off to Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh did a great job of taking what they gave us. What we gave them. I don't think they forced a lot of things. I think we got to have to pick it a little bit. We got to him a couple of times. I like how we started triggering Harris, our nickel DB. I like how we started triggering him, rushing after the quarterback. But I think the Steelers did a great job of calling plays that their young quarterback could read. He didn't have to go through a lot of progressions, even though we got to him a couple of times. But I just think he took what we gave him. And their receivers made plays, and he put the ball where it needs to be.
Again, Pittsburgh, a team that does not get explosive plays, but they got 5 against the Saints, 5 plays more than 20 yards. The Saints had 0. And when you're playing against a 2-6 team that you're going in on the road against, and again, Kenny Pickett got sacked, I think, 7 times in this ball game, something like that. The Saints got there, but you keep leaving your defense on the field for 8, 10 more minutes, 12 more minutes than your opponent. They're going to give up plays. It's going to happen. Fatigue, and they're already undermanned. So all those things, it's just at this point for the competition for quarterback, whether it's Taysom, whether it's Jameis, whether it's you, it needs to be opened up because this team still has 7 more weeks of football, and you can't get these guys to keep buying in if they don't see the coaching staff at least trying. Like, if it doesn't work, that's one thing. But if you can go to your guys honestly and say, we've tried everything there is. We tried this, we tried that, it didn't work. At least then they could say, all right, we feel like you're in this with us. But there has to be some feeling of, can we try something else? This isn't working.
Yeah, and like I said, I think we bring Jameis Winston in and let him get back to the starting position, not because Andy Dalton is doing so bad. because truthfully, when you're looking at Andy Dalton, he threw a couple of picks. One of them I would say was a competition pick. Both of them was fighting for the ball and kind of picked it off down the sideline. But it's not like he's just playing terrible. So I say he need to switch and go back to Jameis Winston just to give a spark, just to see how the team responds offensively. I think defensively, a lot of stuff is going on defensively with us is like you said, because we're staying on the field so long. These last couple of weeks, we've been horrible on third down. We've been horrible sustaining drives. Like I said, we only ran 45 plays this week. We ran 49 plays last week. And usually you're going to average around 60 to 70 plays, a game. And we're at 45. Again, that's a practice. That's a practice type, those type plays. That's only a practice. So I think you bring Winston back in just to give a spark for the offense and for the team to see what type of sparks that gives them when it comes to offensively, because we're really struggling offensively in this defense. We're not playing great, but when your offense is struggling where we're struggling, it's going to get worse for the defense because they got to take up the slack that the offense is not putting out.
A lot of people will say that the Saints couldn't pass because they couldn't run yesterday. But I think part of that is that teams right now, when you are short receivers, when you are battling injuries, all the things the Saints are dealing with, and you can see it. They're being a lot more aggressive at the line of scrimmage. They want the Saints to throw the ball, and I think that part of that is that they know Andy can only do so much with his arm. The outside of the hash towards the sidelines, he's not going to throw you deep outs. He can't do that anymore with his arm strength. He's not going to just put it up and throw it downfield for guys unless he's got a good, clean pocket to do so. So I think defensively, it's kind of like, well, what he's not capable of. Let's start by taking those things away. Let's punish the running game and make him try to convert some plays. If you're going to do that, it seems to me, give a chance to maybe a Jameis or to a Taysom in those situations, because if you are going to put 8 in the box against them, then Jameis can get a little more firepower, behind that arm. And if Taysom is under pressure, he can scramble, he can create something with his feet, and he's not going to go down particularly easy. And again, it's not something to knock on Andy, but it's just, again, a curveball when teams have seen the fastball every week for the last 4 weeks.
Exactly, because like I said, they know we can't really stretch the field with Dalton. But again, that is the reason why you put a guy like Winston in, where his claim to fame is his deep ball. He throws a great deep ball, especially through play action. He throws a great deep ball. So, like I said, you put Jameis in even if you feel like, we still want to go with Dalton, I think you put him in just for a changeup, just to try to spark this offense and be able to stretch the ball down the field. Because, like I said, that's something we're not doing. And then when we try to do it, we end up throwing picks. So we got a lot to figure out. And I really don't think it's all on the players. It's not all on the players. I think we have some coaching issues. Again, like I said, I don't think this is a bad coaching staff, but I think the coaching staff also have to get back to the drawing board and try to figure some things out.
Yeah, I mean, certainly there's some communication that has to happen. And when you have a new staff and they're trying to do things their way, there's going to be some difficulty there. And guys are used to doing things another way. And they're not used to adversity like this, not as a group, not collectively. This is not who the Saints have been in a very long time. It just feels like everything that could go wrong has gone wrong this season. And like you said, at this point, you just need a spark to make guys want to play 1 week of football, because that's what you got. That's all you have now is the game you have in front of you. Playoffs, can't think about that. You can't think about anything else. You can't think about the offseason, where you're going to be, even though it's a natural inclination. It's just you got to find some reason to make guys want to play the Rams this weekend.
Yeah, and the Rams are a good team, regardless what their records say. Honestly, you can't look past anybody right now, because, like I said, I feel like we are a good team, but you see what our record looked like, But at the end of the day, there's nobody we can overlook that we can say, we're more talented than they are, because right now talent doesn't have anything to do with it. We're just as talented as any team you step up against when you look at roster, pound for pound. But talent is not everything right now. It's all the little things that we're falling to. But the thing about it is, it's been the same thing the entire year. Penalties, like I said, giving up explosion plays, uh, turnovers. It's the same corporate week in, week out. So until we can find change in that, the way we did against the Raiders, we're always going to find ourselves in these holes. Teams that we should be able to beat, we're struggling with them.
I did want to ask you about this because last week before the game, the stuff with Jameis, he had an interview and kind of just pulled the curtain back on how his season has been. That he was told that he would get the opportunity to compete for his spot back when when he was healthy, that he is healthy, that he wants to play, all those types of things, which had been kind of for Jameis, he had been very quiet. Um, what does it say that he felt comfortable talking about those things and kind of just said like they have not dealt with me in an honest fashion this season? Are you surprised that he came out and said those things? And then what kind of impact do you think that it has for Jameis to do that?
I think for Jameis, I don't know Jameis that well, but I can tell he's a good leader. I can tell he knows how to talk to his teammates. I can tell those type things. And I can kind of tell his personality a little bit. I feel like for him to get to that point to where he's kind of throwing the coaches under the bus, kind of, he's frustrated. He's frustrated and he's not showing it. I mean, he don't show it during the games, which is great. But for him to come out and make a comment like that, it shows he's frustrated and he's kind of over it. He's frustrated with the season, how the season going as an overall unit, as an overall team. And I also think he's frustrated, which he's clearly said, he's frustrated with how he's being treated individually. So when you have both of those things coming at you and you're just frustrated like that, these type comments come out where he kind of open up the window a little bit and let people in to see what's really going on. So I think he's frustrated. I think he's frustrated how they're handling him, and I think he's frustrated how the season going. Me personally, I honestly felt like he was still injured. That's the reason why he wasn't getting a shot. I thought he was still injured. But the fact he's saying he's healthy, I don't know why you aren't giving him a shot to get a starting job back. Because it wasn't like he lost the job because he was just playing so terrible. Like, he was injured.
And it wasn't a mild injury. We're talking
Right.
broken vertebrae in your back. I mean, this is for a quarterback. And then, like we talked about, the foot injury on top of that we didn't know about at the time. Those things, that's your whole base. That's if your back and your feet ain't right, I don't know what you can do as a quarterback and be effective in the NFL.
Nothing.
So, do you think though that partially that he felt comfortable with this? Because I don't feel like James is the guy who's going to go outside the locker room unless he's not a stupid young man. I've never gotten
No.
that impression. This is a very smart young man and knows his place in the league right now. He knows that his career's on the line essentially. Like he knows that the Saints obviously don't intend to have him in their long-term plans if this is how things are going to go. But I think at the same time, he knows the pulse of that locker room as well. He's in with those guys. I think he's not only speaking for what he's been through, I think he's speaking on the bigger topics of it's not been consistent here in the building. The voicing and the messaging from the coaching staff hasn't been consistent. What we expect on a day-to-day basis, it goes to those things from like Tyrann Mathieu talking about guys not knowing how to line up in there and knowing their responsibilities on a week-to-week basis. I think it's just a general, I don't want to say indictment because it's too early to say something like that. I'll say it's just a general statement around a lack of clarity. I'll put it like that, a lack of clarity of mission and purpose within the Saints headquarters right now.
I agree with that. And also you got to look at it. Some of these coaches have been head coaches before, but not in a little while. They're still playing different roles. Even you look at, the head coach, he's been a head coach before, but in New Orleans, he's never been a head coach where he has control of this team through its entirety. So he has to get used to being able to be the head coach down in New Orleans and call the defense as well. Even if you look at Coach Pete, offensive coordinator, yeah, he's been there for a while, but he's never really been the head guy of what happens when this offense, with the offense, whether you're running the ball, whether you're throwing the ball, just overall in charge of the offense. So he has to be able to fall into that role as well, get comfortable with that role. And I think as these guys are trying to learn their role and continue to grow in their roles, certain things are being missed when it comes to running the overall team. Uh, do I feel like some of these things are growing pains that we just have to go through? Because at the end of the day, it is, even though we do have the talent, but I still feel like it's a rebuild season after looking at how things are going. Like I say, you lost your Hall of Fame coach a couple of years ago. You lost your Hall of Fame quarterback a couple of years ago. So if you really look at it, we do have a good roster, but you lack a lot of leadership when it comes to on the offensive side.
Mm-hmm.
I think defense you have a ton of leadership over there. I think offensively, where do your leadership come from? Because naturally and usually your quarterback is the leader of that team. And everybody knows the type of leader Drew Brees was. And then on the flip side of that, you had Coach Payton as the leader of that team as well, co-leader of that team, him and Drew Brees, and he's the head coach and offensive coordinator. So on the offensive side of the ball, who is that leader on the offensive side of the ball that is going to have the ball in their hands the majority of the time? You could look at it and you could say, well, Coach Payton was the leader offensively because he's calling all the plays. And then you could say Drew Brees, he was the guy because he's under the helm, which both of those things are true. Who do you say is the leader now on the offensive side of the ball? Who's there to get this? Who's there to create, to make the ship right? I don't think we have that guy, in position offensively.
Yeah, because I mean, the longest tenured guy is Alvin Kamara, but this is not a run-based team where he's going to get 20 carries a game and he's not Walter Payton in that regard, or Adrian Peterson or somebody like that, where they're just going to feed him the ball and let him run. So he can't have that kind of control. The other guys who have been around are offensive linemen. Like Ryan Ramczyk can't lead the huddle. That just won't work. And Michael Thomas, when he was healthy, that's not who he was as the guy. Mike worked hard. Mike did his job. He didn't run the huddle. So, yeah, it's a bunch of guys who you're looking in the middle. And I think that's hard for Andy Dalton, too, because, dude, you just got here. And you don't know these guys. I mean, like, even as a backup, you don't know these guys to be able to get to that thing, that button that you push, that a Brees or any other veteran quarterback who knows his players, I know the button to push for you because we've been through enough wars together. I know what it's going to take to get you motivated on this third down and catch this ball. I know those things. Andy doesn't have that kind of relationship, and it's not even possible for him to have done so because he didn't come here to be the starter. The Saints didn't sign him intending for him to be the starter, and he's put in that position. And Jameis had built 2.5 years of equity in the locker room with those guys. So I think it's just, it's who is in command. That's a huge question for the final 7 weeks of the season, and that's why I say, and I think give something that might give a spark, at least empty everything you've got. And if that still doesn't work, at the end of the day, it's probably, it's going to probably be a losing season. We're there. We're on the edge of it. So if you're going to go down having fired every bullet in the chamber.
True. I agree. The only thing that I could see why they're not playing, and this, like I said, I'm completely throwing this out of the air. This is just something that I'm thinking about. Not saying there's any truth to it. Unless they're planning on getting rid of Jameis next year and they want to make sure he stay healthy. That's the only thing that I could think about of why he's not playing, because I just don't know. I just don't know why he wouldn't play. And he was your starter, and he got injured. His starting position got taken because of injury. So I don't see when he gets healthy, why he wouldn't have an opportunity to get a starting job back. So that's the only thing that I can kind of speculate of what's going on. They don't want to get him injured because he might be somebody we get rid of next year on the trading block next year. You just don't know. And I hate to speculate like that, but it's certain things that you're like, why is this happening? Or why isn't this happening? So now you leave it up to the fans and us to kind of speculate what is the reason. So don't know. It's a weird situation, especially when we're playing the way we're playing offensively. I don't see why you wouldn't put James in there to give him another opportunity, and not even James, but give him more opportunities as well. I don't understand that part.
And we'll see if this team is any healthier middle of the week as we get closer to the Rams game. But right now, I don't, Saints early betting favorites for this weekend, and I just don't understand why. At this stage, I don't know how you can. They just came off they got beat by 10 on the road to the Steelers, and you're gonna bring them home against the Rams, and the Saints haven't won a home game in some time since. They beat the Raiders, but outside of that, this season they look good in the dome. So
Nah,
it's just hard to have a lot of faith in this team right now, and it's not. I don't want to say that to denigrate any of those guys who are playing. I don't want to say that. It's just hard because the losses are stacking up, and it's on them in a really difficult situation to come out of it. But I just don't know how you can expect them to right now to be a favorite against anybody.
yeah, I don't see how that when that came out that it was what 3 point. I don't see where that came from either. Especially like I said, the fact we're coming off a losing game the way we did when it came from coming from the Steelers, and also then we got to play the Rams. The Rams are a good team, unless somehow the critics are saying that we match up great with them in certain situations. So that's the only way I can see that they're giving us a 3 point favor. But right now we're not playing good football, and I think the only thing that's going to change that is the players and the coaching staff have to get on one accord. This is not just the players having a player meeting, only players meeting. It's not just that. It's not the coaches just having a coaches meeting trying to figure it out. I feel like the players and coaches have to come together and right the ship, because the players alone is not going to do it, and the coaching alone is not going to do it. It's going to take both groups collectively to come together, and they got to stay together. They can't allow the media or anybody outside of that locker room to kind of get in between them and start a lot of controversy, because it's definitely not going to get better if that happens.
No, and it's not just the play. It's like right now they look like a beaten team. That's the
Mm-hmm.
thing, is like you look at them on the sidelines, you look at them in situations, they look like a beaten team, and that's hard. So just out of respect, like I just hope they get a win, just because, man, that's you know taking the beatings every week and not getting the wins out of it.
Yep.
That's a hard life, man. That's a hard life. That money
You
don't
tired,
ease that.
yeah, and you tired. You looking for a break, uh, and that bye week can't come fast enough. Because we need one. We definitely need one.
Need a buy, need a win, need a lot of things.
Yeah.
We will talk again later this week. Until then, this has been Believe in Saints. He is Terrance Copper. I'm David Grubb, and this is brought to you by Bet Online. So check that out as well. Until the next time, y'all be cool and believe in them Saints.